If the Hornets are willing to sell him low because of LaMelo's value around the league is that low, I can totally see Minnesota jumping in, offering the little they have to trade for him. Alright, I didn't think I'd be talking about LaMelo being traded this offseason, but the NBA always finds a way to keep us on our toes. Now, the package is LaMelo and Josh Green to Minnesota, while the Hornets get in return Naz Reid, a 2023 unprotected first-round pick, and 3 first-round pick swaps and second-round picks. Starting off with the Minnesota side of this trade, I love this for them. I was wondering what Tim Connolly was cooking after basically salary dumping Julius Randle. But hey man, Tim Connolly was in the background cooking. I mean, he turned salary dumping Randle into freaking LaMelo Ball. Minnesota improving their guard room has been something they've been trying to do for a while now. Even with them getting Ayo at this past deadline, it was still clear they needed to add another guard this offseason. With a guard that can initiate the offense, create offense for others, have some on-ball creation ability, and can play well off the ball, even if it was just in a bench role. And they got a guard that checks all those boxes and is a legit top 45 player in the NBA. Ant's backcourt mate for the past few years has either been a past his prime and eventually washed Mike Conley, DiVincenzo cosplaying as a point guard when he's really a shooting guard, or Ayo Dosunmu at the point in certain lineups. Not to mention their attempt before getting Ayo to make a major boost to this guard room was trading for Rob Dillingham on draft night 2 years ago, which was a swing and a miss. LaMelo is the best point guard Ant has played with in his career. Not only LaMelo and Ant as a duo will be must-see TV, they complement each other's games really well. LaMelo's not good at getting to the rim, guess what? Ant is, and both of them can play well on and off the ball. LaMelo will not only give Minnesota another high-end creator that can take some of the offensive load off of Ant, LaMelo is an elite three-point shooter. While his percentage may say otherwise, what makes LaMelo an elite shooter from deep is that he can get them up at a high rate while still maintaining an above-average percentage. Over the past 5 seasons, he hasn't been lower than an 88th percentile in attempts from deep per 100 possessions, which is elite, and he hasn't shot worse than 33% from deep despite taking threes at an elite rate. While more times than not, they're very well contested self-created threes, albeit sometimes LaMelo's shot selection can be erratic. Minnesota last season as a team wasn't a bad three-point shooting team as they ranked 6th in percentage, but they were just average when it came to makes and attempts per game. And they're losing a good shooter from deep in DiVincenzo for most likely all of next season because he tore his Achilles in the first round this past postseason. Getting a shooter of LaMelo's caliber will more than make up for the absence of DiVincenzo's shooting, not to mention with LaMelo being such a good shooter from deep that's willing to shoot it from anywhere at any moment. He has crazy shooting gravity. With defenders having to respect him from deep at all times, LaMelo's shooting gravity creates easy looks for his teammates. Imagine all the easy looks LaMelo's going to generate, not just for Ant obviously, but for players like Jaden McDaniels, Ayo, Terrence Shannon Jr., and Rudy Gobert. LaMelo's going to create such easy looks at the rim for Rudy, he could fumble the pass and still have a semi-open shot at the rim. Speaking of LaMelo generating easy looks, LaMelo is also one of the 5 to 7 best passers in the NBA. He can almost hit any pass and generates quality looks for his teammates at will. Whoever is playing on the floor with LaMelo, their efficiency will skyrocket. LaMelo is one of the most impactful offensive engines in the league, and now he's the second option to Ant, a top 10 player in the NBA. Now, going to the other side of the floor, LaMelo is a negative defensively. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat that, but Minnesota has the defensive infrastructure to insulate LaMelo in and cover his flaws on this end with players like Ant, Gobert, and McDaniels. Gobert is a top 3 rim protector in the league, and McDaniels is an elite point of attack defender that can guard positions 1 through 4. Ant is a good on-ball defender that can defend point guards to small forwards. Not to mention their 2025 first-round pick Johan Berenjay in limited minutes last season showed he's already an above-average rim protector, and he can be a good one as soon as this season. Real quick with Josh Green, I almost forgot to mention him. He's a role player that can come off the bench and give them a decent 14 to 18 minutes a night. As a hustle energy guy that's a decent shooter from deep off the catch. Another positive of this trade is LaMelo is not this aging star that doesn't fit Ant or McDaniels' timeline. Both Ant and LaMelo are both 24 years old, and McDaniels is 25. This is a core that can grow alongside each other for the next 5 to 8 years. Plus, they're all under contract until 2029. If you're a skeptic about this trade, I know you're raising your eyebrow and saying, how is this a core that can grow together when LaMelo is injury prone? Don't worry, I didn't forget to mention that. Yes, it's more than fair to say LaMelo is injury prone. I've said he's injury prone in the past. And this past season was only the second time in his career he played more than 51 games in a season. LaMelo has a long history of dealing with ankle injuries, and it's fair to question, can his body hold up for a deep playoff run? With all that being said, Minnesota is getting a top 45 player in the NBA that helps them address a position they've been trying to fill for all of Ant's career. This trade makes Minnesota a more legit contender than they were the past 2 seasons. To me though, they're the 3rd best team out west. They're still behind OKC and the Spurs to me when it comes to contenders in the West. With Minnesota trading Naz Reid, they need to add more size to their front court because their projected starting lineup is a bit small. Then you look at their bench pieces that are under contract outside of J. They lack size, and in general, they lack even just decent front court rotational players. With all that in mind, Minnesota making this trade for LaMelo, considering what they gave up, is worth the risk. Now, before we get into the rest of the video, I would appreciate it if you could like the video as it helps the video perform better in the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe to the channel. If you like NBA content, this is the place where you will want to be. Now, for the Hornets side of this, I just don't fully understand why they trade LaMelo. Yes, I understand he has injury concerns, and he's not good at consistently getting to and finishing at the rim. He struggles scoring in the mid-range, and as a whole, he struggles as a 2-point scorer. But even with his drawbacks as a 2-point scorer and his injury concerns, as I said earlier in the video, LaMelo is one of the most impactful offensive engines in the league. This is evident in the fact that with LaMelo on the floor, the Hornets had a 125.8 offensive rating, which is almost 10 points above league average. But when you take LaMelo off the floor, yes, their defense gets better, but their offense falls off a cliff. They go from almost 10 points above league average to almost 4 points below league average. The Hornets go from one of the best offenses in the NBA with LaMelo on the floor to a well below average offense when he's not on the floor. Not to mention, this Hornets roster is built on the strength LaMelo provides as an offensive engine. Brandon Miller, Khan, Naz Reid, Kobe White, and their new rookie they just drafted 18th overall, Christian Anderson, all of them are very good 3-point shooters, but they're not on the same level of shot creation and passing and playmaking of LaMelo. Not to mention Brandon Miller and Khan, who the Hornets are now building around. It seems they both have their struggles as 2-point scorers just like LaMelo does. Even though between the two, I'm more worried about the impact of LaMelo being gone affecting Miller more than Khan, to be honest. Even with LaMelo, Miller, and Khan struggle scoring inside the arc and the fact they're all not good defensively, in their minutes together they had a 133.6 offensive rating. Despite being below average defensively, in their minutes together they had a plus 15.1 net rating because that's how good they were offensively. But then you look with Miller's and Khan's minutes without LaMelo, whether that be them together or on the floor without each other, yes, the defense gets better, but the offense falls off a cliff. Now you're adding into the equation Naz Reid, who's a below average to a neutral defender at best, Christian Anderson, who I can see becoming a solid starter / good role player in the NBA, but I don't ever see him reaching the level LaMelo is as a shot creator and as a passer and playmaker, as Christian Anderson is relying on using ball screens to create separation from his defender and give him an advantage to attack. While he's not a bad passer and playmaker, he's not on the same level of LaMelo when it comes to processing the defense, and he doesn't have the same access to the same passing windows that LaMelo does, as he's only 6'1" compared to LaMelo being 6'7". Anderson is also going to be a negative defensively, or at best a neutral defensively. Not to mention Hans Steinbach, who Charlotte just drafted 14th overall, and Musa Diabate are at their best offensively as play finishers, but now there is no longer that high-end playmaker on the roster to hit them consistently when they're rolling or cutting to the basket. And while Diabate is a positive defensively, the most likely outcome for Steinbach is that he's just a neutral defender, so he's not making the Hornets defense any better. So the Hornets are making their offense significantly worse, and their defense is going to stay at the same level it was with LaMelo on the roster, as average to above average at best defensively. And in return for LaMelo, they got fake pick swaps, an unprotected first round pick 7 years from now, and Naz Reid. Like, Jeff Peterson is so unserious for this man. I don't know what the plan is. Maybe it's to try to trade for Jaylen Brown using their $40 million trade exception they just created, or LaMelo's medicals scare them that bad and they're betting on him never being able to play more than 50 games in a season. But if the plan is to build around Miller and Khan as their primary offense creators, then I'm not a big fan of that plan. For the grades of this trade, I give Minnesota an A grade and I give the Hornets a D grade. If you're still here right now at this point of the video, I appreciate you watching the entire video. Don't forget to like the video, as the basketball should appear when you do, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments your thoughts about LaMelo Ball now going to Minnesota. See y'all in the next one.